It's 3 a.m. and your eyes are open. You did everything right. You turned off the screens, you lay down. You told your body it was time to stop. But your body didn't listen. Your heart keeps its rhythm. Your lungs keep pulling air. Somewhere behind your ribs, 1,000 tiny processes refuse to go quiet, humming along whether you want them to or not. You call it insomnia, you call it stress, you call it a broken switch that won't flip off. But the real answer is far stranger. Your body was never built with an off switch. Not a real one. And to understand why, you have to meet the toughest animal that has ever lived. A creature smaller than a grain of sand. A creature that can do the one thing your body cannot. It can turn itself off completely and then come back. It's called a tardigrade. Under a microscope, it looks like a chubby 8-legged bear made of soft rubber, which is why scientists nicknamed it the water bear. It waddles through droplets of water on moss and lichen, sucking juice out of plant cells, minding its own microscopic business. It is almost invisible, it is almost nothing, and it is nearly impossible to kill. Boil it, it survives. Freeze it to nearly absolute zero, colder than deep space, it survives. Blast it with radiation that would liquefy your organs. Crush it under pressure 6 times greater than the deepest ocean trench. Fire it into the vacuum of space with no air, no water, no protection at all. It survives. In 2007, the European Space Agency did exactly that. They sent living tardigrades outside a spacecraft, exposed them raw to the void of orbit, and brought them home. Most of them woke up. Some of them laid eggs. The eggs hatched. How does something so small refuse to die? The answer is the thing you don't have. When the world becomes unlivable, the tardigrade does something almost magical. It pulls in its legs. It curls into a tiny wrinkled ball called a ton, and it drains almost all the water from its body, dropping to as little as 3% moisture. Then everything stops. Its metabolism falls to less than 1/10,000th of normal. No heartbeat, no breathing, no aging, no repair. For all practical purposes, it is not alive. But it is not dead either. It has entered a state scientists call cryptobiosis. Hidden life. A pause so deep that time itself stops touching it. A tardigrade can hold this pause for years. In some cases, decades. There are records of tons reviving after being dried out for over 100 years. It simply waits. And when a single drop of water finally touches it, the water floods back in, the machinery restarts, and the little bear walks away as if nothing happened. It didn't heal. It didn't fight. It disappeared from time and came back when the danger was gone. Now think about what your body does instead. You cannot do that. When life becomes unbearable, your cells cannot pause. Your heart cannot stop and restart on command. Your brain cannot power down and store itself for later. The moment your metabolism truly stops, you don't wait, you die. There is no ton for you. There is no coming back. And here is the strange part. Your body knows this. Every cell in you carries an ancient, desperate instruction. Keep going, no matter what. Because for a human, stopping has always meant the end. This is why you can't fully shut down at 3 a.m. It's why your mind keeps running long after you begged it to rest. Your body is not malfunctioning. It is obeying a rule older than the tardigrade itself. Never stop. Stopping is death. So why did the tardigrade get the off switch and you didn't? The answer lives in a molecule. When a tardigrade dries out, it doesn't just lose water and hope for the best. It replaces that water. In 2017, a research team led by Thomas Boothby, then at the University of North Carolina, discovered that tardigrades produce something extraordinary. They make special proteins found in almost nothing else on Earth, called intrinsically disordered proteins. As the animal dries, these proteins turn the inside of its cells into glass. Not glass like a window, a kind of soft molecular glass that encases every fragile part of the cell, every strand of DNA, every delicate structure, and holds it perfectly still. Frozen in place, protected, suspended. Boothby showed something even wilder. When his team took the genes for these proteins and put them into yeast and bacteria, organisms that normally die when they dry out suddenly survived drying too. The ability was portable. It was written in the code. The tardigrade simply carries a recipe for pausing life that your body never learned to write. And there's a reason it never did. You are enormous. You are warm. You are made of tens of trillions of cells, all firing, all talking, all depending on each other every single second. A brain that stops getting oxygen for 4 minutes begins to die. A heart that stops for too long cannot simply restart itself. The larger and more complex a creature becomes, the more impossible it is to freeze it in place and thaw it back to life. The very things that make you capable of reading this sentence are the things that make you impossible to switch off. Complexity is a one-way door. To become a creature that can think and love and remember, you had to give up the ability to disappear and return. The tardigrade can pause because it has almost nothing to lose. You cannot pause because you have everything to lose. Does that sound like a curse? It isn't. Look closer. There is a hidden cost to the tardigrade's superpower, and almost no one talks about it. When a tardigrade enters that glassy pause, it doesn't just stop dying, it stops living. It doesn't grow. It doesn't feel. It doesn't experience a single moment. A tardigrade that spends 30 years in a ton did not live for 30 years. It skipped them. It was absent from its own existence. Researchers have even proposed that time spent in cryptobiosis effectively doesn't count against a tardigrade's lifespan, because during that pause, biologically, it barely exists at all. The price of never dying is never being present. And now the mirror turns toward you. Because you know this feeling, don't you? Not the microscopic version. The human one? Think about the last time life became too much, too painful, too overwhelming. What did you do? You tried to enter your own ton. You went numb. You scrolled for hours and felt nothing. You lay in bed not sleeping and not living, just waiting for the bad season to pass. You pulled your legs in and drained the color out of your days and told yourself you were just getting through it. You tried to switch yourself off until the danger was gone. Psychologists have a name for the deepest version of this. In the 1970s, Martin Seligman ran experiments on what happens when a living thing believes nothing it does will change its fate. He called it learned helplessness. The animal stops trying. It goes still. It waits for the suffering to end on its own. It enters a kind of psychological cryptobiosis, alive but absent, present but paused. And it works, in a way. Going numb protects you. Shutting down gets you through the storm. But it costs you the exact same thing it costs the tardigrade. The days you spend switched off do not come back. The months you spend in your ton are subtracted from your life. You survived them, but you were not there for them. You paused, and time did not pause with you. This is the difference the tardigrade can teach you if you let it. The water bear pauses because it has no choice. It cannot feel the water it's waiting for. It cannot enjoy the moss it lives on. It survives by absence, and that is the only tool it has. But you were built the other way. Your body refuses to shut down. Your heart won't stop. Your mind won't go quiet at 3 a.m., and you've spent your whole life treating that as a flaw. What if it's the opposite? What if the reason you can't fully switch off is that you were never meant to? The tardigrade's gift is the pause. Your gift is presence. You are one of the only creatures on Earth complex enough that you cannot escape your own life, and that is precisely because you are complex enough to actually live it. To taste the coffee, to feel the person next to you, to lie awake at 3 a.m. and know, with a strange ache, that you are still here. The water bear survives by disappearing. You survive by staying. It has forever, but forever is empty. You have far less, but every second of it is switched on. So the next time you lie in the dark and your body refuses to power down, listen to what it's actually telling you. It isn't broken. It is doing the one thing a tardigrade can never do. It's 3 a.m. and your eyes are open. And that, it turns out, is the whole point of being you.